Yo, what's good, dev guys? Welcome to part 3. We're going to fix that issue where the recoil just acts weird. It doesn't reset to the spot where it's supposed to. You let your clip go, and it does some weird thing, like continues the curve. There's also a bug here when you have no ammo and you click, it kind of starts ticking through the fucking timeline. So we're going to fix that as well, which is the first thing. It's easier. So to fix that, all we got to do is go to where we start firing, and then we need to make another check here. So if we don't have any ammo, so if current ammo is less than or equal to 0, we just want to return, and we don't want to run any of this code right here, because even if we had no ammo, it was still running this, checking for ammo, and then it was running this and playing the recoil. So that kind of messes things up. But yeah, so we fixed that. And for this next part, basically, we need to manually interpolate from where we are when we finish the recoil back to where we started. And the way to do that is by using math. Yay! So we need to create a couple of variables and functions because we have to tie in two systems together. So the functions that we're going to create are having to do with movement. So we'll put them up here with the movement function. So we're going to say void turn, and this takes in a float value, call value, and then we need to make one for void look up, float value. Now I know you're like, damn, why are we making input functions? But basically, we need to create a float that takes this value so that we can check it later. So we're gonna make a float that takes in the yaw input, and then one that takes in the pitch input as well. So we can use those later when we need them. When we go down here to our to our recoil section, we need to make two or just one F rotator. We need an F rotator for our start rotation. So when we fire, we want to cache the position we fire from. So if I fire from here, I want to cache that position. Let's just make it a point that's still there. So if I fire from here, I want to cache this position. That way, when the recoil takes me over here and I interpolate back to my start position, I interpolate back here. And the reason we made those other floats is because we want to check and see if our input is greater than a certain threshold, so that it won't force us back. Because you'll see, I'll do the code without doing this check, so you can see that it forces us back. Even if we try to move, it'll force us back to our start rotation, which is not good for a first-person shooter where you're trying to aim at multiple targets, snap to them real quickly. So the first thing we need to do is let's go ahead and press Alt Insert, and we're gonna Alt Insert. Where are we? And we're gonna insert definitions for those two functions that we created. And all we want to do here is add this. You know how it goes. Add controller return. We want to add the no, not the role. Jesus. We want to add yaw input and type in value here. But we also want to set yaw input equal to this value. So whatever value we're pushing in with our mouse, it'll get cached right here. We want to do the same thing here. Pitch input is equal to value, and then we want to add controller pitch input and pass in the value. So we'll have this to check later. We got that done. Now we need to go to where we start firing. So on start fire, and if we have ammo, we want to go ahead and cache our current rotation to our start. We want to go ahead and cache our start rotation to whatever our current rotation is at the moment we start firing the gun. So get control rotation is what we'll pass in. This just gets the viewpoint of the player, which is basically where we're looking, our rotation. and we cache that. And now for the interpolation, we want to go to the tick function. So in the tick function, now you can see why we actually made this call, this check separate from this, because inside of here, when the thing is reversing, we need to check for some different logic different from when it's playing. When it's playing, we just want to tick it. When it's reversing, we want to tick and check some stuff. So the first thing we want to do is create a intermediate F rotator, call it new rotation, and then we're going to set that to an interpolation rotator. So go ahead and type in ukismet math library, and we're going to use rinterp2, which interpolates between two rotators. And if you don't have writer, you'll have to manually type this in, include kismet / kismet math library. Manually type that in, because unless you have writer, it won't do it itself, unless something changed inside of the Visual Studio Code that I haven't used it in a while. But with this, we need to pass in our current rotation, which is our get control rotation. We need to pass in our target, which is our start rotation. That'll take us back to the position where we first fired the gun. And then our delta time is delta seconds. And the interp speed, which is going to say 2.0f for 2 seconds, or 2. That's the speed. We can speed that up. Higher values are faster, lower values are slower. We don't want it to like jerk to the reset. We want it to like smoothly interpolate. So that's why I set it to 2. And then here, I'm going to do this without showing you the code that we're about to type. So this is what happens with the jerk, what I mean. So if I say I want to go ahead and get the controller, and I want to set the client's rotation. Where is it? Let's just type in rotation. Client set rotation, and we want to set it to this new rotation. So if I compile this, you'll see, oh, we got to make a couple other changes too. We need to go to our start horizontal and vertical recoils, and we need to do something if the timeline is reversing. So if the recoil timeline is reversing, we need to go ahead and return out of this. We don't want to add any controller y'all input, and I'm gonna actually delete this because it looks crappy. That's why I make this live template here. So if the recoil timeline dot is reversing, return. Copy this and paste it here as well, because we don't want to do anything on either one of these. So we should be good on that front. So go to the editor, go ahead and compile. See if we get any errors. That's taking a while. Oh yeah, I changed the header. So actually rerun the editor. I changed the header file, added functions, did all that. It was tripping over itself. It's like, hey, it's some new shit up in here. So yeah, go ahead and just rerun the project, or local debugger, however you're doing it, Visual Studio users. So let's go ahead and test that, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. So if I hold my clip, oh, we're not getting any recoil. We're not starting the recoil. Hold on. If current ammo is less than or equal to start rotation, oh no, we got start recoil. Oh, okay. No, recoil, play from start. Yeah. Oh shit, I put if it's not reversing. Sorry. If it is reversing, we want to um, return from that code. So compile that, press play, and now I can show you if I try to move, you can see it's a little hitch. And it'll be easy to show you if I go here, and if the timeline is reversing, I want to go ahead and set this real quick. Set the recoil timelines play rate, set it to something real slow, like 0.1, just so we can see what the issue is here. So set it to, oh, that says get play rate. We want to set the play rate. So set the play rate to 0.1 F and then recompile. I want to show you what happens when you hold down the mouse button and then you try to move, it'll keep trying to reset you. And this is happening at a faster pace when the play rate is set to 1, but it's still like locking you into a rotation where it's forcing you back to your start rotation. So if I reload, pressing R, you'll see it's like locking me. Let's let it reverse. You see that it keeps trying to drag me back. And I don't know if it's obvious. You can probably feel it when you're playing. But we're going to go ahead and get rid of this code to set the play rate to 0.1. And the way to combat that is using those floats that we made. What we want to do is some extra checks. So go to your tick function. And right before we set the client's rotation, we want to check a couple things. We want to check if the absolute value, which is fmath, the absolute value of the yaw input, we want to check if that is greater than a certain threshold. So that threshold that I found while testing was 0.005. It's very little, but it makes a difference because if your yaw input is 0, you'll reset. It'll reset you back to your start rotation. But the second you move your mouse, it'll stop that. It'll stop this call right here. This won't get called. So we want to check if the absolute value of the yaw input is greater than 0.005 and or actually if either one of these values, fmath, ab, if either one of these values is greater than the threshold, then we want to return out of this code and we don't want to run that client set rotation. So the threshold is 0.005. And we just type in return. And the way that I got that value was that I just basically on tick I had a debug log. I UE logged. Let's say UE log temp. I made it a warning and then I formatted the information I needed. So I passed in. I said the yaw value is equal to percentage F for float, and then I made a new line and said the pitch value is equal to another float, percentage F. And then all you do here is just pass in yaw input and pitch input. And this will, in the output log, just go ahead and let us know what those values are so we can decide on how we want to set the threshold. So I'm gonna open up my output log here, just window output log. Go ahead, clear it, get rid of all the useless stuff. And then we can press play. Press Shift F1 and clear it again because when you play, it does all that. And then you'll see the value. So if I don't move my mouse, the value is at 0. And it starts to reset me to my target, to my start rotation. But if I went ahead and reloaded. If I go ahead and move my mouse, you see the values are not picking up. Rotation, pitch, yaw input, pitch input. Let's see. Let's just run this every tick. Hot reload inside of Unreal Engine 5 is spotty at best. Let's see. Maybe I did something wrong. Yeah, but it's always returning 0. So yaw value, pitch value. Let's see. What the hell? Ah, okay. We missed a whole step. So we need to go to our setup player input component, and we need to change these two bindings. We need to change them to the custom ones that we made. So it's a advanced recoil, and for turn it's turn, and for look up we need to do it here as well. A advanced recoil character look up, and now our value should get set because we're actually using our mouse now. So let's recompile. Missed a whole step there, boys. Yeah, so now we can see our value. So if I'm moving, anytime I don't move my mouse, it's at 0. But if I'm moving to the right, you can see it's like 0.2. If I press Shift F1, just Shift F1 so we can go look at some of the values when they change. Maybe we can not possess so it can stop ticking. No, it's still ticking. So I'm gonna just stop the editor real quick so we can look at the values. Um, let's go to a point where we were moving the mouse, which is here. So you see we got negative 0.14, negative 0.14 for the pitch value as well. And this is the absolute value. So we're checking the absolute value. So this negative will be a positive because it just gets the value. So the reason I set the threshold to 0.05 is because I want to be able to, so you can see here, when we move in just a small amount, it's at 0.06. So I found the smallest amount from the smallest movement and seeing how much that value was, and then basically just floored it to a certain number. So 0.05 is less than this. So if we move this much, that code that we had underneath in our tick function, tick, this code right here won't run. And that's how I basically got that all set up. So I'm gonna get rid of this log and we can recompile here. Clear this out. We actually don't need this anymore. So now you'll see if I hold down the mouse button and don't move my mouse, I'll reset. But if I hold down the mouse button, let go, and move, I'll kind of get reset back. But as long as I move out of that threshold, we might have to make it. I might have to do something different here because if the timeline is reversing, who cares, right? So we can say, we can take this code, and if the timeline is planned, we want to do that. Else, we'll do this right here. Let's see what that does. Actually, we need to check if uh the recoil timeline that is stopped. Do they got stopped? I guess is not playing is. Ooh, so with this, I think this will cause, we'll always be running this check. So if the timeline is playing, it'll tick. And if it's not playing, we'll be running this check the entire time. So I don't want to do that. So I will, let's just control Z that. Yeah, I don't want that to be running in tick for no reason. So let's just mess with the threshold a little bit. We need to go back a little bit more. Yeah, let's just mess with this threshold a little bit so that it's a little bit less. So maybe 3.5. Okay. Okay, yeah, that should work. That should work. So let's recompile that. And this is part of the what I would say debugging process is like you'll feel that you're getting set back. You'll feel that. Okay, I know. Okay, I know why. We need to move this code up. We need to move this code all the way up. Because what happens is, okay, I'll show you by example. So I'm holding down my mouse button, I'm getting recoil, and I stop moving my mouse, it'll reset me while the timeline is ticking, which is a certain amount of time. So the way that it works is it reverses, and I guess I should reverse from the end so that we get the full timeline to set our interp speed or to set our new rotation. So let's go to reverse recoil and let's go into this function, and we want to reverse from in because we want to use the full 3 seconds. So let's say reverse from in. Works a little bit better. And back to my explanation. So what's happening is however much time it takes us to get to this point, it reverses and it ticks the timeline. So if it takes us a second to get here, for 1 second, we'll be reversing. That means for 1 second in our tick function. So if I go to tick, oh, that's on my header file. I go to tick here. So for 1 second, we'll be running the tick on the timeline, and we'll also be interpolating, and we'll also run that check. And it was right here at first. So for 1 second, we'll be running this check. But if it's if it's at 0 at 0.3 seconds, it'll return from this code and then come back up and it'll run it again. And if I stop moving my mouse, this will be false. So it'll come back here and reset me. So it was kind of like doubling back depending on how much time we had on the recoil. So if we move this to the top, I hope I made sense there. If we move this to the top, the second that we move our mouse, it'll stop everything here, and this won't run. So it'll stop everything. It'll stop ticking the timeline. It'll stop the interpolation, and it won't set the rotation. But once we fire it again, it'll run this check. If our mouse cursor hasn't moved at all, then it'll run here, and it'll keep doing that until we move our mouse. So I can actually set this threshold back to 0.05 because it wasn't the threshold, it was the position we had this in our code. It kept it kept looping through. So let's go ahead and compile that, and that should fix us snapping back at any point. We should have a pretty good system here. Compile completed. So let's check it out. So if I hold down my mouse, reverse, we go all the way back down to our starting position. But if I hold it down and I move, I'm still there. So I'm still, hold on. Yeah, we're still going here. So what's happening? If the timeline is reversing, we need to check if our mouse has moved. If this is true, return out of this code. Let me put in a UE log. Let me put in a UE log right here. And we're gonna say log or log temp warning. Say, let's just say we haven't moved our mouse. All right, go ahead and stop the editor and compile that. Let's see. Okay, so, oh, I don't have my log open. So let me open up the log here. Output log. For that entire 3 seconds, it ticked that message because we didn't move our mouse. So we haven't moved our mouse. We haven't moved our mouse. What if I go and move our mouse? Why is it still trying to do it? Reversing. Let me run this check. That doesn't make any sense. If this returns out, this code shouldn't run. So let's do a test right here. Let's just comment this out. And let's just say if true. Whoops, it commented out the whole thing. I just want to comment out the if statement. But let's just cut this real quick. I'm gonna just paste it right here so I can have it. I don't want to have to type it again. So if true, return. And this shouldn't run our code. Maybe we do need to change the fucking value. Okay, so that's not running the code right there. And that should be the same effect we get when this returns true. So maybe we need to change our threshold. So I'm checking if the absolute value of this y'all input is greater than 0.005. Let's go down. Shit. Let's see how far we need to go. Let's see how far we need to go to make this work. So at 0, we're reversing back. What the f? What the f? What the f? Is that not returning true? That's not returning true, bro? Come on. You telling me that that's not returning true? Let's see. Float pitch input equals value. Look up, turn. Yeah, we're setting the values. We're using this as our mouse input. Let me double check. Control F, setup, layer, input, return. Yep, we're using our turn. And for look up, we're using our look up. Oof. Greater than 0? I guess. It's still doing that. Huh. That is awkward. That means that this is not returning true at all. So our input is not returning true at all. So let me see what the value of this input is. So let's just let's take this UE log right here, bring it up here, and we want to get this value right here. So we'll return either one of these. If either one of these, we'll do both. So we'll do that same y'all value. is equal to percentage F, and create a new line, /n, and then pitch value is equal to percentage F space. And we'll pass in this for the first value and this for the second value. Pitch input. What's this return? Float, right? Can I substitute F math in the array type dereference? Can I just toString this then? No, that's not it. So how do I get the value out of this? Oh, there we go. I'm an idiot. I didn't put the comma. Okay. So let's see what that fucking value is when we're reversing. So it should be 0. And bro, that is literally that's greater than 0. So why is that code not returning? This should be returning. That makes no sense. If this is true, it should print out that string. And if it is true and it prints out that string, what the fuck is happening? This video is going on long because I'm debugging an issue that I don't believe should be there. Okay. It's true, so you should be returning out of the code. Or maybe, okay, let's try this. Let's say that doesn't make sense though. So I should stop. Let's do recoil timeline.stop and return. What does that do for us? So we're good. We don't move our mouse. Okay, I had to stop the timeline because for some reason the timeline was still, what? That makes no sense. If I don't tick the timeline shouldn't move. But I guess it's playing, so it's still ticking it. But even if it's ticking, I don't have any values going through. But it automatically makes this false. I guess, yeah. If it keeps checking this, when the timeline is reversing, it keeps checking it, If it's not, you know what I'm saying? If it's not right, if I haven't stopped moving my mouse during this time, it just keeps on trying to set me back because even though, okay, one time going through, this returns true. It'll come back and check and see if this is true again. If it's not, it'll go here. And then it'll continue doing this until I move my mouse. And then when I move my mouse, it doesn't stop moving. It still tries to take me back. That's what was confusing me. But yeah, so we'll just plug in recoil timeline.stop and we should be good. Took me too long to figure out that I just had to stop the timeline, but hey, we got there, boys. So in the next video, we're gonna do some more cleanup. We might add some decals, some effects just to see the hit markers and stuff like that. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.